Michael Misa, 6'1", 184 out of Saginaw in the OHL. Mario, as we prep for the draft here and look around the draft rankings from all the websites, all the draft analysts, everything, all those sort of people, you're seeing Misa at or near the top of all of them. Mostly number 2 seems to be the most common thing after Matthew Schaefer. What do we like about Michael Misa, and why is he so high on the draft lists?
I think there's everything to like about him. I think you have, you talk about 5-tool players in baseball. This is a guy that does everything from a hockey standpoint. The skating is dynamic. The scoring ability, the shot is high level. The instincts set him apart from the rest of this draft class, especially in the forwards group. And size is a thing that a lot of people care about when it comes to forwards. You can't have too many little guys. You got to have some big power forwards. Not a power forward, but he has desirable size at 6'1", 180, 190 pounds, and he's still got time to physically develop. And just the track record that he's set of what to expect out of him through the years in the OHL, I think it just sets him up beautifully in this draft class, where there's not really a separation between number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 that is as wide as we have seen in years where Celebrini was ahead of the field, where Bedard was ahead of the field. I think, Matthew Schaefer is consensus at the top, but it's razor thin between him and Misa.
It does feel like a year where we could see teams picking for need, because there is not that definitive number 1 guy. But Misa does seem to be the number 1 forward. And you mentioned it, like, really good skater, high hockey IQ. And look, at this point, all these guys can score. It's why they're top 5, top 10 prospects in the NHL draft in terms of the forwards. But 62 goals in 65 games is nothing to sneeze at. Where he might separate himself from the pack, especially as we sort of spin it towards the Blackhawks side of things, is that ability to put up bigger numbers. Because when I look at Michael Misa as a forward I would most like to see come to Chicago, the reason is because in the system, they've got a lot of those two-way, maybe he's a second-line center, maybe he's a third-line center, but he plays strong both ways. Sure. You've got your Boisverts, your Spellices, on and on and on, guys like that. What they don't have is that dynamic elite scorer that you can probably, pencil in for 30 goals at least when they hit their prime to play with Connor Bedard. That is kind of the one thing that they've not been able to find so far. And let's be fair, the draft, the rebuild truly began in 2022, so it's not like they've had tons of shots at it.
Right.
But that's why I think Misa is the best fit for Chicago specifically. The fact that you can plug him in with Connor Bedard and boom, you're looking at big goal totals right away. It's another legit top 6 threat to score, as opposed to some of these other guys who, they might be a little better defensively or more reliable, whatever. I think the Hawks need a guy that can put the damn puck in the net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I as we've talked about it on the show a number of times, and during our draft lottery show as well, we said, here's who we think are the top 5 in the class. I had him number 1. I think he is a star top-line center, a guy that this past year with Saginaw got moved back to center after playing wing for 2 seasons, and was able to develop his game in the most dangerous area of the offensive zone, is right down the middle. That's where, with the Blackhawks, we've heard wanting Connor Bedard to play down the middle. That's why he's playing center, even though it's still not necessarily set in stone. Is he a center or wing at the NHL? Why Frank Nazar is excelling at center, because you want those best players, those most dangerous players, the guys that can play with some pace, playing down the middle. And Michael Misa absolutely thrives playing down the middle. And with the center position, you have to worry about, instincts both offensively and defensively. And it's not that, Misa's point total is, astounding. At the top of the OHL, he's not just all offense. He has the engagement defensively. He has the awareness defensively to be in the right position, to engage in defensive battles, to go down and block shots. Like, that's not something you see a lot of times out of players who are putting up big, big points, big point producers, big goal scorers. Sometimes the defensive aspect of their game is, they back check, kinda. Like, with Patrick Kane, like, his game was never to play defense. He was always going to produce offensively. But with Misa, he's got the best of both worlds. He's got the engagement. He's got the hockey sense to play strong defensively and play in support. So again, like, I think for the Blackhawks, a guy that could excel both at center and wing with Bedard, If he's your number 2 center, if he's your number 1 center, he would fit perfectly in either one of those positions. And yeah, like you said, like that's not a position that they have locked down of this is that prototypical center. He checks every single one of those boxes.
Yeah, and I don't want to minimize his commitment to playing at all ends. I think, but as you look at some of the other guys in the draft, like I think Frondell specifically would be the one, if you've got more of an eye towards defense, that could be your priority pick. But I think that's handled. I think the prospect system the Hawks have has a number of options coming up that are going to provide solid defense with some offensive upside. Right now, you want solid offense with some defensive upside.
Exactly.
And that's going to fit perfectly. And, before the draft lottery, if you told me the Hawks were going to pick third, I'd say, well, you could probably scratch Misa off the list. But now with the Islanders with the number 1 pick, hearing some reports that they're tempted to take James Higgins, who we'll get to next week, now there's a possibility they can fall to 3 for sure, especially since, as we said earlier, there's no clear cut, like this is the guy, then it's him. In years past, that's how it's kind of been. Not the case this year at all. So there is a shot that Misa falls to Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it out of the realm of possibility. It still seems maybe a lower possibility than it would have been had the Blackhawks ended up at number 2, but
in San Jose at 1.
And right? San Jose at 1, yeah. Then it's clear cut. San Jose needs a top defenseman. There's Matthew Schaefer. Blackhawks need a top forward. There's Michael Misa. Bing, bang, boom. Let's go home. Now at 3, and with like you said, the Islanders kind of throw a wrench at the plan. They need
always
anything. Yeah, of course they do. Yes. They need most positions. Whether it's top forward, top defense in their prospect system. The Sharks, they're going to be picking second. They are pretty good up front with forwards. They could use, I know they got Sam Dickinson, they could use a Matthew Schaefer level defenseman. So it'll be very interesting to see if the Islanders go for the hometown guy, James Higgins. Not only is it the storyline, it's also he's one of the top 3-4 players in this draft class. So you wouldn't say that that's a stretch, so to say.
And grew up an Islanders fan,
right?
Wants to be an Islander.
Will
be happy to stay.
He's one of those very rare hockey players that's like, I want to be an Islander. He absolutely fits that mold and could go that way. And then if that's the case, Schaefer's there at 2 for the Sharks, and Misa is there for the Hawks at number 3, and that would be the dream scenario. But anything could happen. If trading up from 3 to get to number 1 or number 2 is on the table for the Blackhawks, they could go that route as well. If it's for Michael Misa, I've said it before, I'm all for Kyle Davidson being aggressive. This is the type of forward prospect that I'm like, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, and if you're the Islanders and your heart's set on Higgins, like you mentioned, they're kind of devoid of prospects. Trade down to 3, pick up something.
Yeah.
Maybe they threw Louis Crevier in there or a second round pick or whatever it might be.
Probably need more than
to
that,
sweeten the pot to move up 2 spots just to ensure they're getting Misa. I'm sure the Islanders would be pretty confident that if we're third, Higgins will be there. That's our guy anyway. So let's just give the Hawks what they want. Let's get an asset for doing it, and we'll move down to 3, and we'll be very happy with the guy we probably would have picked anyway, plus whatever else the Hawks are going to throw our way. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Just to recap his numbers, 65 games with Saginaw last year, 62 goals, 72 assists, 134 points. The year before, he had 29 goals and 46 assists in 67 games at 75 points. So a big-time scorer that really exploded with the output of goals this year. That's my number 1 forward. I know he's your number 1 forward. A lot of Hawks fans agree. Michael Misa is the guy. Let's see if it happens on June 27th. At the NHL Draft.